Hi guys, this is gsn.com and I'm here with a review of the Sony Xperia L1. This is a Moto G5 rival and it's a low mid-range handset, so we're here at gsn.com for a full review. It's been a busy time for Sony. They've been launching stuff at IFA 2017, but we are here with this entry-level handset announced in March and launched in June. It's powered by a MediaTek CPU, it's available in black, white and pink, it's got no predecessor, and it comes at $199 on Amazon. Now, its waistline is 8.7 millimeters and it weighs a hefty 180 grams, which is quite big for a 5.5 incher. Just for the sake of comparison, the Huawei Nova Plus weighs 160 grams and measures 7.3 millimeters. It's got this unique way of reflecting light, and the way it catches the light makes it feel like the scales of a lizard or maybe a fish. And anyways, it looks almost violet in the proper lighting. Aside from that, it's totally polycarbonate all the way around, plastic, polycarbonate, and a bit curved at the back, making it fit better in your hand. It's quite comfy to use with a single hand. We got comfy buttons on the side and a lid here that covers up the slots like this. You pull it and then you can easily access the slots. Overall, if you use the device for a long time, you'll notice some creaks here and there, and if you look at the way things are built, you'll see some lines and some stuff that shouldn't be there. So not the ideal build, but also not the worst in the world. Still, it's a plastic phone with some sacrifices. It's not waterproof. It does have a pretty good grip, and the bezels are surprisingly okay for this type of product. In the end, it does not feel like 180 grams, so that's good, doesn't feel heavy, but also the build quality is a bit below par for Sony. Now on the display front, 5.5 inch IPS LCD, 720p resolution, and let's see what it offers us by using the video app. So we have our test video, and the first impression is that the colors are a bit cold, got wide view angles. The brightness is pretty okay in my book, and also the contrast was reasonable even in full sunlight. There's that feeling that there's a layer of white on top of the image, making things a bit ghostly. Anyways, we move on from that to this area in order to see how the screen behaves under the microscope and all those usual tests. So these are the pixels, this is the pixel setup, RGB stripes, pixel arrangement, and then we proceeded to do a brightness test, culminating in 404 lux units, which is quite okay. It's okay for a mid-range phone. It's superior to the Lenovo K6 and the Motorola Moto G5, but scores below the Amazon Fire Phone, remember that, and the Xperia XA1. If you want to perform tweaks to the experience, you obviously got your settings, and those include brightness level, adaptive brightness, sleep, smart backlight control, white balance with these three sliders. There's font size, display size, system icon, screensaver, and that's about it. So overall, pretty good screen considering the price tag. Now on the hardware front, we're dealing here with a handset that relies on a MediaTek quad-core CPU, MT67370, 64-bit CPU accompanied by 2GB of RAM and 16GB of storage, as well as a microSD card slot. And surprisingly, there was no trace of lag here. We're the ones who found lag on the Xperia XA1 and XA1 Ultra, and this one somehow does not suffer from lag, although we did get one random reset or maybe two. Now we also ran some games, and I'm talking about Riptide GP Renegade, which is our usual favorite benchmark game and title. Should run pretty okay. Don't expect to see the best frame rate in the world, but at least it's not very choppy. I didn't notice any lag or problems. Okay, getting to it. Let's go to the races, pick a quick race, Downtown Rush, and that's it. You can tell from the loading that we're dealing with a low mid-ranger, almost entry-level device. So it feels pretty responsive, looks fine. I don't see any lag or stutter. Let's do a jump. Nice water effects, frame rate, lighting, shadows, textures, everything checks out. So if you want gaming you shall have. although if you're opening up the app and opening some more apps, you will encounter maybe some small traces of lag. We actually didn't. Now, if you want to see how we did in the benchmarks, we go here and have a look at the screenshots. We did the usual tests. I'm talking about Quadrant, Antutu and so forth. In Quadrant, we scored past the Nexus 6P and LG G4, but scored below the Huawei P10 Lite, for example. And we also did an Antutu test. Let's find that and see what the score was like there. Okay, so Antutu, famous for its white background, 38k points. This is superior to the Vernitor, but also inferior to the Moto G4 and the Lenovo K6. And we also did the Geekbench 4 test. And let's find its results, which are here. This is Geekbench 4. Very small single core score, to be honest, while the multi-core one beats the Nokia 3 and the Lenovo K6, but scores below the Nubia, Z11 Mini and Yumi Max. I would say it's okay-ish performance for a 2GB RAM device. And now comes the downside. So we had problems with the temperature. The device got a bit more overheated than it should, 41.9 degrees Celsius after running GFX Bench. And when gaming, a huge 49 degrees Celsius. It's been a while since you had a phone that's so hot, so keep that in mind when you're going to do gaming for a longer period. Now on the battery front, we get a 2620 mAh unit with the usual Qnovo adaptive charge, stamina mode and etc. Now we put the battery to the test and let's see what came out of that experience. Continuous HD video playback time is, drumroll, 9 hours and 30 minutes, which is good, superior to the HTC 10 and the LG V10, but inferior to the Moto G5 and Huawei Nova, for example. We also did a continuous usage test, and this one clocked in less impressive, 6 hours, 6 minutes. It's okay, but once again, should have been better. Beats the LG G5 and the HTC U Ultra, scores below the Huawei Honor 4X, which is quite an old phone. Charging requires 2 hours and 47 minutes. It's better than the Vernitor, but if you do it in steps, well, 1 hour equals 59%, 30 minutes equals 28%, and that's what you get for charging the phone in steps. Now, you probably know already that the battery section offers the stamina mode and the ultra stamina mode that prolong the battery usage by dropping some features, and the ultra stamina actually lets you use only the core features of the phone. An okay-ish battery of the device. Now let's talk about the acoustics. So singular speaker at the bottom right here, doesn't involve the earpiece in any way. The music app is quite typical, and as usual, Sony offers a ton of customization. First, we have the Spotify integration, then you have the audio settings, you got your Clear Audio Plus, you got your EQ, with the custom options, these 5 custom channels you can actually play with. And then the equalizer presets, which are basic music genres, clear bass sliders, surround, X Loud, which can actually be felt, dynamic normalizer, and special options for the headphones. Once again, if you really activate X Loud, you really feel a boost in the music's volume and loudness. Now let's actually play some tunes. Here we go. You just saw me covering up the speaker. That happens when you hold the device in landscape. As you just heard, the volume is quite loud, actually very loud to be honest, and the X Loud makes things even more hardcore. There's a bit of distortion at max volume, and surprisingly enough, 50% volume is enough to enjoy your music. I would say the bass is okay, the high notes are fine, and we also have FM radio here in the mix, but we do not have bundle headphones in case you're wondering. Now let's see what the decibel meter had to say about this device, because we did some tests in that area as well. So here we go. Okay, so first things first, we achieved, let's see, this one here, 92.8 decibels at the front and the back of the phone with a typical audio sample. Not bad. It's actually second placed all time, above Galaxy S8 and the LG G6 and the HTC U11. Keep that in mind. And the other finding was also quite shocking. shockingly good. 98 decibels when running the game Riptide GP Renegade. It's 5th place all time, above the Sony Xperia XA1 and the Huawei P10, but below the XA1 Ultra. Very loud, some would say even too loud for its own good. Now let's go to the camera. It's a pretty standard package. 13 megapixel shooter at the back with LED flash f2.2 aperture, no XMOR, this is no XMOR sensor, and at the front 5 megapixel shooter, generic wide angle for the selfies. I will not insist too much on the camera UI, it's totally typical for what you see on a typical Xperia, minus the app section, so you only have auto, manual, and video, no special apps area, not even panorama has been included. Now we skip straight to the gallery and see what the shots we took look like. So here we go. It was a pretty hot day, that's for sure, and we have quite a few of them. Things to remember here are the fact that it takes a long while to focus properly in close-ups, but when you actually do, things get satisfying. Also, about 15% of the times shots were blurry, so some problem with the focus may appear. In the end, I was happy with the texture of the objects and the flowers we photographed. I would say that the brightness was okay. I did not feel that any shot was too dark or too bright. And to be honest, considering how hot the day was, the pictures are actually less burnt than expected. This is a test of the zoom, so we started zooming onto that flag, we zoomed and we zoomed, and the details are quite okay. I would say we get some powerful reds here, so good calibration of the hue of red. And if you're patient enough, you can trigger some pretty capable macros, which are pretty good for Facebook. It's a $200 phone, so Facebook is what you're taking the pics for, not your personal portfolio of a photographer. Okay, more shots here, no problem with the lighting, some HDR action here and there, and then we proceeded to do some selfies. For a 5 megapixel shooter for a $200 phone, I feel that the skin texture, hair texture, and the colors were quite okay. The background is severely burnt and the dynamic range is unimpressive, but for this price, yes, I'm having it without a problem. We proceed further to more shots. Pretty good texture here. If you look at objects close up, and once again you have to be patient and focus properly. And finally, some more colors. Toys in the park. No blur, good focus, good things happening here and there. No problem with the dynamic range in the background. So if you're patient, you can focus properly, take some good macros. It catches pretty realistic colors. Some phones out there, even $300 phones or even $400 phones, catch weird greens. Like the Huawei P10 and P10 Plus, they catch some pretty weird greens. And this is one example of taking a good shot with a not that good camera, and I'm talking about a camera that's not flagship level. And this is an example of HDR. So we have this sample, we apply HDR, and voila, we can actually see the little dinosaur which was hidden in the shadow in front of the light. In the end, one thing is for sure, the camera may be okay for mid-range, but it's not constant. It behaves like the Huawei P9 Lite 2016 in its best moments, but at the end it's on par with the Yumi and Nubia phones or the Ligu ones at the worst times. Now, in low light conditions, it behaves like a typical, I would say, low mid-ranger. So there's a bit of yellow hue here, not the brightest in the world, some blurred shots, but surprisingly the flash actually triggered okay captures. Big street light halos, some blur here and there, lots of yellow. I just mentioned the halos, and in the end I would say that it's acceptable and reasonable for the price you paid, but I've seen a bit better from other $200 phones, some even from China like the Vernitor, for example. Now that we're done with the photos, let's have a look at the videos, because we also did those. Don't imagine anything fancy. It's full HD MP4 action, 17 megapixel bitrate, 30 frames per second, and things are pretty shaky, but the exposure change is quite okay. Clarity not half bad, and the colors are pretty decently calibrated. The acoustics are a bit echoey, and if you zoom in, things tend to drop a bit in quality. Some strange dynamic range here and there, but at least, once again, no burn. When you have a 35 degrees Celsius day outside, you expect some phones to burn. The LG G4 did that, the LG G5 also did it a bit, but this one somehow didn't. I would feel that it's on par with the lower end Huawei's, something like the Huawei Honor 7 or the Huawei Honor 4X or 5X. That's the level this handset is able to film at. For example, it beats the Huawei P9 Max, the Huawei P8 Max, the Lenovo Pad Plus, and some of the ZTE Nubias. That's during the day. Let's see during the night, where things, of course, take a bad turn. They remain at 30 frames per second and 17 mega per second, but they're blurry, they're shaky, yellow, detail loss, echoey acoustics, pretty okay object tracking in my book. At least there's no refocusing, but if you zoom in, dramatic detail loss. And we have another video during the night, this one here. So conclusion, daytime capture is reasonable for $200, not bad on the lower spectrum of Huawei's, for example, but the low light one doesn't impress one bit. It's not even top 20 or 30 mid-rangers. Now let's talk about other things like the web browser, for example. It's Chrome here, we're entering it, and let's access gsno.com. So for some reason, in spite of the fact that Chrome is a pretty good browser, the results it produced in our benchmarks were actually very sad, because the score in SunSpider was very low. I'm talking about a high score, which high means bad in SunSpider, and in Velamo the score was 3 times less than we expected. Anyways, at least the scrolling is fluid, and that's the input solution Swift key with swipe included and feeling quite comfy. Now on the connectivity side, the phone comes in a single SIM, nano SIM version or dual SIM version. It's got LTE category 4, there's GPS here, USB Type-C port at the bottom. We even have NFC, there's GLONASS, Bluetooth 4.2 and Wi-Fi ABGN and Miracast. Plus we have an audio jack, which is available at the top right here. Now the calls were pretty okay in volume and clarity. It's no champion, but it does the trick. We also did a speed test or two to see how the connection behaves when put to the test, and these are the results achieved. Not bad, I'd say. In 4G we got up to 95 mega per second downloads, 45 mega per second uploads, and in Wi-Fi 72 and 25 respectively. I would say they were within limits and quite okay for a $200 phone. Now let's talk about the software. It's Android Nougat, Android 7.0, pretty clean with the Xperia UI. We got a carousel for the multitasking, and you can even do split screen if you really have to. So you can use the album app, check out shots and browse at the same time, and then you can go back to what you are doing. Keep the home screen pressed, you get your widgets, wallpapers, themes and settings. Google Now has its own home screen, and the drop down section is pretty much stock here with notifications and quick settings, so nothing fancy here. There's no fingerprint scanner, and the settings are very straightforward: connectivity, themes, device, accounts, assist and more. Nothing fancy, nothing out of the ordinary. And let's see what else. You go to the apps, you got the search application, and you got recommended, and we have quite a few of them. There's 39 apps here, but luckily you can uninstall most of them. So if I want to uninstall this one, I'm able to by pressing that little X. So 39 apps. We got Spotify, we got What's New, there's Amazon Shopping, there's also Track ID and AVG protection for the sake of antivirus stuff. Weather is also part of the experience. So that's about it software wise. Now it's time to talk about the pros and cons and the verdict for the phone. On the pro side, we have that cute effect when catching the light. We got a pretty okay screen in brightness, so 400 lux is okay in my book. We didn't encounter significant lag, although during this filming the phone actually met with some lag. I would say that the video playback time is okay. I'm talking about the battery. The speaker at the bottom is really loud, and we take some good macros with the camera at the back. Selfies are also not half bad, and we got Android Nougat and we can uninstall stuff, hooray. Now on the cons front, it's got a plasticky design that even creaks at times. Not the best build in the world. It's not waterproof, it doesn't have a fingerprint scanner, it overheats. PC mark result is unimpressive, the camera is not constant, video capture should be better even at this level, and close-ups focusing was not my cup of tea. It's the sort of phone that I would call the Me Too phone, so Sony wants to dabble in the entry-level area, not on the E4 level or the Sony Xperia E4 level, but a higher level. It uses a lesser build than usual, so sacrifices have been made, but in the end, if all you do is Facebook, YouTube and selfies, for $200 you're basically buying the brand. For $200 you can get a 4GB RAM phone from China, from Ligu, Blueboo, Elephone, Verni, but here you're paying for the brand, and in the end there is no huge flaw. Yes, it creaks, doesn't take the best videos in the world, but it's capable for Facebook, YouTube, selfies. That's the holy trinity of a teen, and if the price drops even $20 or $15, it becomes even more appealing. So this has been the review from gsm.com for the Sony Xperia L1. Bye bye.